Morena. Good morning and welcome to this snapshot presentation on New Zealand, the little country that looks like it's at the bottom of the world and is often referred to as the land of the long white cloud, the shaky isles and now Aotearoa. Who are we? New Zealand is a widely diverse population of people from all around the globe who have brought with them their culture, traditions, foods and religions. History tells us New Zealand was discovered sometime between 1200 and 1300 by the Polynesian ancestors of our Maori people, and who, navigating by the stars, sailed their waka down through the Pacific. In 1642, the Dutch navigator Abel Tasman sailed by New Zealand but never landed. He did make a sketch map of a tiny segment of the New Zealand coast. The map shows his voyage from Indonesia and the western coastline of Australia and also Tasmania. It was not until over 100 years later, in 1769, that the English explorer, Captain James Cook, began mapping the southern lands and landed on the shores of Poverty Bay on New Zealand's east coast. This first voyage recorded the indigenous peoples, the unique flora and fauna, and those first records were later added to in two later voyages. The New Zealand Company, a private company, was established in the United Kingdom in the 1800s in response to the chronic poverty in the UK. Citizens were invited to leave behind their old life for a new one in the newly discovered land, New Zealand. Those who made the 110-day voyage to this far-flung British colony were mainly from England and Scotland. The New Zealand Company established settlements in Wellington, Nelson, Whanganui and Dunedin. The original Wellington settlement, called Britannia, today Petone, was on a site totally unsuitable, being swampy, prone to flooding, and with only shallow waters unsuitable for shipping. Quickly, the settlement was located to the other side of the harbour, where Wellington, the capital, remains today. Between 1840 and 1852, some 18,000 made the voyage from England. Dunedin in the South Island was home to many of the Scottish immigrants, and the city name means Edinburgh. The first settlers founded the Church of Scotland in Dunedin, and the Scottish heritage is still very strong today. Today, most of the 5 million population live in urban areas in the North Island, and the largest and most diverse populations are to be found in Auckland, with a population of over 1.6 million people. This city, straddling two harbours, is the major gateway to New Zealand, with a large number of international airlines flying into its airport daily. Auckland is often referred to as the City of Sails, as it has more yachts per capita than anywhere else in the world. Next in size is Christchurch, the largest city in the South Island, followed by Wellington, the capital, with a population of just under 450,000. Of the languages spoken in New Zealand, English is the most common, followed by Te Reo Māori. Because of the large Polynesian communities in Auckland and in Pororua, north of the capital Wellington, Samoan is the second largest language spoken in those areas. What amazes most visitors to New Zealand is the diversity of its scenery, which includes glaciers, fjords, rainforests, snow-capped Alps, volcanoes, steaming geysers, boiling mud pools and crystal clear lakes. There's something for every visitor to see or do. Years ago, the author Zane Grey enthused about trout fishing in New Zealand, and the same is true today. For lovers of deep sea fishing, marlin is found in the northern waters and salmon in the South Island. The South Island also offers good hunting. All around the coast of New Zealand, great seafood can be found, including a few natives to these waters, such as paua, crayfish, and kina or sea eggs. Imagine stopping at Kaikoura in the South Island and enjoying a crayfish cooked straight from the ocean as you survey the rugged scenery. Rotorua, apart from its geysers, boiling mud pools and thermal waters, is home to Maori culture, and here you can immerse yourself into all things Maori. For those who enjoy more active visits, there are a number of great scenic walks, either of 1 or 2 days, or longer ones such as the Milford Track in Fiordland National Park. This is known as one of the great walks of the world. For those who wish shorter walks, both our islands offer a wide choice, as well as cycleways. The sports-minded are catered for with excellent golf courses, many in very picturesque locations, and for the thrill seekers, Queenstown is the adventure capital of the world. Transport in New Zealand is mainly by road or air, although there are some very scenic train journeys. There is also a wide range of accommodation, from humble backpacker to motels, major international hotel chains, and a number of luxury, award-winning lodges, listed in various lodge guides showing the best in the world. Whatever your taste or budget, tourism in New Zealand has something for everyone. Whilst our scenic wonders are unique, it doesn't end there, as New Zealand is a major agricultural country that produces sustainably grown beef and dairy products, as well as high-grade lamb. As mentioned previously, our country is known for its seafood: oysters from Bluff, whitebait fritters, crayfish, and a large range of fish. Various areas of the country are known for their orchards, and produce from these is exported all across the globe. Probably best known, the kiwi fruit and the New Zealand varieties of apples. At Christmas, cherries from Otago and strawberries are exported to northern markets. As well as large tracts of land devoted to farming and agriculture, many hectares are covered in vineyards, and New Zealand wines are now widely recognised around the world and are receiving recognition in major international wine competition. Wine is now New Zealand's 5th largest export. Wine has been a big part of New Zealand life, as the first vines were brought to New Zealand by missionary Samuel Marsden, who planted New Zealand's first grapes at Kerikeri in 1819. As migrants from other wine-drinking countries settled in New Zealand, they first made wine for their own consumption, but this eventually grew with increased demand until a wine industry began as New Zealanders developed a taste for wine. An early Lebanese migrant, Asad Corbin, planted his vineyards in 1902, and Corbin's wines went on to become one of the largest winemakers. Dalmatians, French, Spaniards, and German settlers arrived, many of whom had a long tradition of winemaking, and they were the key to influencing today's industry. Initially, New Zealanders preferred sweeter wines, but gradually taste changed as more varieties of European grapes were introduced. As young winemakers travelled the world, they brought back home with them Old World skills and science-based New World winemaking. Best known of New Zealand wines is Sauvignon Blanc, and over 22,000 hectares are planted with this varietal. Another New Zealand wine taking out major awards are the Pinot Noir wines, many from the Central Otago region, the country's most southern vineyards. Although over 37,000 hectares around New Zealand are planted in grapes, compared to other wine-producing countries, New Zealand is still a tiny producer, and probably wine is best described as a boutique industry. No matter where you travel, in either the North or South Islands, an amazing collection of vineyards are to be found, whose cellar doors invite you in to sample and maybe taste a platter of local cheeses and olives. As well as wines, New Zealand has excellent craft beers, whiskey, and local gins that include native plants in the botanicals. Foraging of plants and fungi has become popular, and high-end chefs are including this in their cuisine, adding a totally New Zealand twist to food. Because of our diversity, many cuisines are to be found in every corner of the country. Our largest group of people is of European descent, followed by Maori, Asian, Pacifica, Middle Eastern, Latin American, and African peoples. A must when in Rotorua is to try a hangi, the traditional Maori way of cooking food over hot stones in a pit and then covered. When in Southland, an iconic New Zealand snack should be sampled, the cheese roll, first created in the 1930s and still very popular today. New Zealand has its own iconic dishes that are unique and make the most of the sea and the land. We are a country of just over 5 million people with a slightly higher ratio of females to males. Although a small country, we've had a number of milestones, such as in 1882, New Zealand began shipping frozen meats to Britain, and in 1893, being the first country in the world to give women the vote. New Zealand was one of the first countries to use screw caps on wine bottles, and now a New Zealand gin company is using a paper bottle made from recycled paperboard and a food grade in a pouch. This makes the paper part suitable for recycling. Over the years, New Zealand has had many famous people, both Maori and Pākehā. Among those were Dame Whina Cooper, who in 1975 led a famous land march that, amongst other things, reminded Kiwis of the strength and identity of the Maori people. Catherine Mansfield is remembered for being one of the best short story writers of all time, and the artist, Ralph Hotiri, is regarded as one of the most influential by both galleries and collectors. Certainly, the prices his works achieve at auction reflect this. Sir Ernest Rutherford, the nuclear physicist who discovered the atomic nucleus. Sir Edmund Hillary, who 70 years ago, with Sherpa Tenzing Norgay, conquered Mount Everest. The arts have also produced opera stars, Dame Kirita Kanua and Dame Malvina Major. And more recently, Sir Peter Jackson, director and producer of Lord of the Rings and a number of other major movies. But we must not forget that Kiwis are a nation of sports lovers. Who has not seen the famous rugby All Blacks in action? Other sporting notables are golfer Lydia Ko, New Zealand's America's Cup sailors, equestrians, and our international cricket team. There are PROBUS clubs the length and breadth of New Zealand, most being combined men and women, all with a multitude of adjunct groups for the enjoyment of their members. Perhaps the most important fact is that on the 4th of November 2024, the PROBUS Club of the Kapiti Coast will celebrate 50 years of PROBUS. This is the club I belong to, and we are very proud that our club was the first PROBUS club in the Southern Hemisphere and South Pacific. And so, in a small beachside town of Paraparaumu on the Kapiti Coast, PROBUS was born in this region of the world. I would like to share with you a few photos showing what our area is known for. Only 40 minutes from Wellington, it is now a fast growth area with a blend of retirees, young families and business people. We are home to, amongst other things, a chocolate factory, craft beer breweries, the renowned Southwards Car Museum, an aviation museum, and the Bond Store, which make the award-winning limoncello, vodka, and gin infused with the native kawa leaves. Just off our beach is Kapiti Island, a predator-free bird sanctuary and home to many endangered species such as the takahi, the brown kiwi, and the little spotted kiwi. The island is also a major breeding site for seabirds. Although a sanctuary, it is possible to see the native birds in their natural habitat on a day trip to the island, but numbers of visitors are strictly limited. We hope that if any PROBUS Global members are planning to visit New Zealand in late 2024, that they can coincide with celebrations that will be held around the country to mark this event. We would welcome any PROBUS Global members and invite you to come and see what we're all about. I hope this gives you a brief overview of New Zealand and its people. If there is a standout quality amongst Kiwis, it is that they are friendly and welcoming, and I hope that now that borders are open, you will make a visit and test this for yourselves.